At some point, you were left out. Maybe it was obvious, a conversation that stopped the moment you walked in, an invitation that never came, a message you sent that was read and never answered. Maybe it was subtle, a joke you told that landed in silence, a room full of people that simply carried on without you as if nothing had changed. Whatever it was, you remember it. You remember it with a clarity that sometimes embarrasses you, given how small the moment seemed. A look, a pause, a door that did not open. You remember it because your brain stored it using the same circuitry it uses to store the memory of breaking a bone. That is not a metaphor. It is neuroscience, and it changes everything about why rejection feels the way it does. Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a study in 2003 that forced a rewrite of how scientists understood the brain. She placed participants inside a brain scanner and had them play a simple computer game called Cyberball, a virtual ball-tossing game with what they believed were two other real players. At first, all three players passed the ball equally. Then, without explanation, the two other players stopped, including the participant. The participant was simply left out of the game, for no stated reason, in a context that could not possibly matter less. It was a video game. The other players were not even real. And yet, when Eisenberger analyzed the brain scans, she found something that the scientific community was not prepared for. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same specific region of the brain that processes the distress of physical pain, activated. Not a neighboring region, not an adjacent circuit, the same one. Social exclusion, even in a trivial game played with strangers who did not exist, recruited the neural architecture of physical suffering. Your brain does not maintain a separate system for social rejection. It uses the pain system, the exact same system that evolved to protect you from injury, from fire, from broken bones. The system that demands immediate attention and urgent response is the same system that activates when someone leaves you out of a conversation, a plan, or a room. This is why rejection does not feel like mere disappointment. It feels like something has been physically damaged. And this is not an overreaction. It is ancient engineering. For the vast majority of human history, social exclusion was lethal. A human being separated from their group during the Pleistocene era did not survive long. No access to shared shelter, no participation in food distribution, no protection against predators or cold. Belonging was survival, and rejection was a proximity to death. The brain that learned to treat exclusion as a physical emergency was the brain that motivated immediate repair behavior. Apology, adjustment, reconnection, anything necessary to get back inside the group before it was too late. That urgency kept our ancestors alive long enough to pass their genes forward. And that same urgency is now running in your nervous system in response to social situations that carry no physical threat whatsoever. Here is where the research becomes more complicated. Work by Geoff MacDonald at the University of Toronto extended Eisenberger's findings in a direction that most people find uncomfortable when they first encounter it. The threshold at which social pain activates in the brain is not proportional to the social stakes involved in any given situation. The brain does not evaluate whether a rejection is significant before deciding how to respond. A stranger ignoring your comment online activates the same neural circuits as a close friend ending a relationship. Not at the same intensity, but within the same biological system. The network fires first, and then your rational mind tries to catch up and explain to you that the situation probably did not deserve that magnitude of response. This is why you sometimes replay a minor social slight for hours, even days, after the moment has passed. Why a single critical comment survives in your memory long after dozens of positive ones have faded completely. Why being excluded from a meeting you did not even want to attend still produces a sting you cannot fully account for with reason alone. Your reasoning tells you it does not matter. Your nervous system has already filed it as damage. And in this particular competition between those two systems, the nervous system is always faster and considerably louder than your reasoning mind. Now hold on, because what the research found next is what almost no one in popular psychology discusses openly. Eisenberger and her colleagues followed their initial findings with an experiment that most people consider either fascinating or deeply strange. Participants who took acetaminophen, a standard over-the-counter painkiller, for 3 consecutive weeks reported significantly lower levels of social pain in their daily lives. Their neural responses to social exclusion during brain scanning tasks were measurably reduced compared to the control group. A physical painkiller reduced the subjective experience of social rejection. Because in the architecture of the brain, social pain and physical pain are not fundamentally different categories. They share infrastructure. They run on overlapping circuits. They report to the same region. This finding is uncomfortable because it implies something most self-help frameworks would rather not state directly. Social pain is not primarily a cognitive misinterpretation that can be resolved with sufficient perspective. It is a biological event, rooted in tissue that responds to injury. You cannot think your way out of rejection the way you cannot think away the sensation of a burn. You can manage the response. You can contextualize the experience over time. You can learn to not act on every signal the system sends. But the initial activation is not a choice, and it is not a character flaw. What regulates this response is not explanation. It is something far simpler and far more specific. Researchers studying social exclusion have documented that the neural distress response to rejection is regulated most effectively not by rational reappraisal of the situation, but by the direct experience of re-inclusion. When someone who has just been excluded is subsequently included by a different group, or even given a small, unsolicited gesture of acknowledgement from a stranger, the pain signal in the brain measurably dampens. The system is not looking for a logical argument that the previous rejection did not matter. It is looking for biological evidence that the exclusion was not permanent. That belonging somewhere is still available. The most powerful thing you can offer someone carrying social pain is not perspective or explanation. It is the experience of being included. A small signal. A message that asks nothing. A moment in which another person simply registers that they exist. These gestures carry more regulatory power over the pain system than any reframing of the original situation ever could. And it means something about every time you have felt a rejection more sharply than you expected to. Those moments were not evidence of weakness or excessive sensitivity. They were evidence of the depth of a system ancient enough to predate language, sensitive enough to detect the earliest signal of social distance, and powerful enough to demand full attention until the threat was resolved. You were not overreacting. Your brain was doing exactly what it was built to do. If this shifted something in how you understand yourself, subscribe. Every week on this channel, we go deeper into the hidden systems shaping how you think, feel, and connect. The next video continues from exactly here.